Okay, welcome to the fifth 10-minute record review, and this time we're going to talk about Rod Stewart's Every Picture Tells a Story, which came out in 1971. I listened to this, which is the first Canadian pressing, which is on Mercury, obviously also from '71. The consensus is pretty well established. This is the high point of Rod Stewart's career. I like to think of this as sort of doing what the Stones were doing at the same time, only actually doing it better. You have a mix of rock, soul, folk, R&B. There's not a weak moment on this record, really, to speak of. And even the cover art is absolutely fantastic. So the background to Every Picture Tells a Story. I think you have to situate in the arc of Rod Stewart's career in the late '60s and early '70s. So he starts off in a band called Steam Packet. He then spends some time sort of honing his craft in the Jeff Beck group, where I don't think he was anything he was anywhere near his best at that particular time. In fact, I would say he's one of the weaker parts of the two albums he did with Jeff Beck. Then in 1969, he embarks on a 6-year period where he's both an active solo artist and also an active member of the band Faces. But in the lead up, between the time he's with Jeff Beck and his early solo albums in the late 60s, he's fumbling towards this particular moment. He's finding his voice in two ways. I think he's finding it literally in sort of learning how to situate himself in the band and play off the music and sometimes and add white space to what he was doing. But he's also finding his voice figuratively as a songwriter, where he was also ultimately to excel. He moves towards and he achieves here a much more intimate delivery than he had previously been known for. And you start to see these aspects of his songwriting: humble, and his delivery as a singer. He's funny, it's emotional, it's bluntly, it's very, very charming. And whatever you think of his later work, like, he really has a run here of 5 pretty solid solo albums between '69 and '74, and this comes right in the middle, and this is the best of them. And he's also simultaneously in Faces, although his solo work, and this was a bit of a source of contention for Faces, the solo work is better, and the songs are typically stronger. So here, of course, he's borrowing almost all of the Faces band to back him up one way or another. So Ronnie Wood's here, Kenny Jones is here, but he doesn't get a credit. Ian McLagan is here. The only face who didn't make it here is Ronnie Lane. Not surprising, because there was a degree of friction over who was handling vocal duties in Faces. But all the rest of them are here. Martin Quittenton plays wonderful acoustic guitar and slide acoustic on this. Mickey Waller, with whom Rod had played with Jeff Beck and also with a band called Steam Packet, and was basically his go-to drummer for all his solo work. And then famously, the mandolin player from Lindisfarne, who does not get credited in any more specific a way than that on the album jacket, a guy called Ray Jackson, who got paid £15 for playing these 2 mandolin solos on what became 2 huge hits for Stewart, and never saw another penny out of it. So quite a cast of characters on here, and really some excellent players. So the music includes 5 original songs, including if you include Martin Quittenton's little prelude to Maggie May, which you might just think of as the beginning of Maggie May, but that finger-picked acoustic guitar piece is known as Henry, but it's not listed as such in the album. And another original, not written by anybody in the band, but written by a guy called Ted Anderson, called Seems Like a Long Time. Ted Anderson was a folk singer from Kansas. There are also 4 covers. One of Tim Hardin, folk singer from 1960s. Bob Dylan, also a folk singer from 1960s. An Elvis song written by Arthur Crudup, and a song by the Temptations. So totally eclectic mix of music here. And there's also one traditional song, which is "Amazing Grace," which is I guess almost a second hidden track here. So the songs, "Every Picture Tells a Story" it kicks off the album, and this is where everything that Rod Stewart ever did right as a musician and as a songwriter, well, not as as a songwriter, yeah, and as a musician, happens here in different ways. Which are kind of the Rod Stewart formula. It's a semi-autobiographical story, which it's an interesting story. You're sort of drawn in, by this tale, basically this roguish tale of world tourism. It's funny. It's self-deprecating, like all good Rod Stewart songs. It's, he pokes fun at himself, or makes himself sort of vulnerable. Sometimes a bit of a figure of fun, but never. It's that's again one of his ways in which he's quite charming in the way he writes songs. It rocks pretty hard at points, but it also has some very slow, intimate pieces. Every single piece that I mentioned, everything that Rod Stewart does right is here on this particular song. And then into Ted Anderson, Seems Like a Long Time. Apparently this guy used to open for the Ozark Mountain Daredevils, and this is the only thing he's particularly known for. Is writing this song, it's a lovely little lament. It's a beautiful song and a great delivery by Stewart. The Elvis song, That's All Right. It's got the thing I like most about this is Martin Quittenton's slide guitar, his slide acoustic guitar, which is fantastic. Mickey Waller is also really good on the drums. This is probably the least essential song on the whole album, but it has a feel of a knocked off cover, but all that said, it's still pretty good. I mean, the floor for this album is really, really high. Like even the filler is high quality. Then there's Amazing Grace. Again, why is it on the album? Who knows? But I actually can't imagine the album without it. And it does add to the overall diversity. And it's a lovely performance. It's just Quittenton on guitar and Stewart. And then side one ends with Bob Dylan's song, Tomorrow Was Such a Long Time, and this is just lovely. And what it is Rod Stewart accompanied by a wealth of string instruments. It's acoustic guitar, electric guitar, pedal steel guitar, and violins, and that's it. The effect of all that is beautiful. The contrast, Stewart's raspy voice and all these smooth strings is fantastic. Dylan's lyrics are, of course, excellent. And the emotions that are conveyed are totally timeless. I can think of few songs by Stewart or other people where the connection between the singer and the listener is as complete as on this song. Then we're to side two, and the sort of the world-straddling, world-dominating hit Maggie May, preceded by that little instrumental number called Henry. This is we're back to the theme of Stewart's sort of autobiographical storytelling, which is wonderful. His singing delivery is great. There's lots of other great playing on this song. Ronnie Wood's guitar solo in particular is great. Mandolin solo is wonderful. Followed by Mandolin Wind, which is the other song on which Ray Jackson played mandolin solo. Possibly the most moving song here about this poor couple trying to make a go of it. The narrator is basically, is part of the man sort of, expressing his appreciation for his wife who loves him and is loyal to him, despite buffalo dying in the field and all these things. Some of this stuff might look corny when it's written down. Stewart totally makes it work lyrically. Then we're into the Temptations cover, which, even though it's a Temptations cover, is probably the hardest rocking song arguably the hardest rocking song that Rod Stewart ever did. Even though it's an R&B cover, it's and Ron Wood's guitar is totally to the fore. Waller's drumming is amazing. And then the album closes out with Reason to Believe, Tim Hardin's beautiful song about, it's a heartbreaking song about a breakup and the sort of bittersweet emotions that come with that, sort of the pain of letting go, even though the singer's been wronged and so on. And the use of violins here is excellent, I think. So this is Rod Stewart's masterwork, and it sets a standard in terms of intimacy, songwriting, variety and pure enjoyment that very few solo artists, I think, have ever matched. He never matched it again, and I can't think of very many who ever did. The production is fantastic. It's like the band right in your living room, and that allows all these great musicians to shine. You can absolutely hear everybody's contribution right down to the notes. So this is an essential album in everyone's collection, I would argue, and it's deserving of 5 stars.